let's just forget about the things that I talked about tonight, about the raw organic vegan and getting the pesticides out of the food and what happens to pesticides when you cook them. Let's forget about all the things that change when we cook the molecular structure of the food when it changes. Let's forget about all that. Let's just talk about what basic Americans already know about, okay? Clogged arteries, major cause for heart attack and stroke. Here's what they wanted to feed me in that hospital room. They brought me my choice. I refused to eat it, but they brought me and offered me roast beef or roast turkey, giant instant mashed potatoes with gravy, dark brown gravy, and then the meat was smothered, both the turkey and the roast beef were also smothered in gravy. And then they had pop-top applesauce, some Jell-O, and a little bit of iceberg lettuce that had no green in it. That's a 100% dead food diet. On top of that, even I only have a ninth grade education, folks. I am not a doctor. I'm not trying to give medical advice. I never graduated from high school. I went back to try to get a GED, and I couldn't do it. But here's the bottom line. I'm laying there paralyzed in a stroke ward for stroke victims and heart attack victims, and they're feeding us what? Meats with trans fatty acids. We had 2 cubes that said in red, real butter, right? Now, we know as Americans, we know that, hey, carbohydrates with fats and trans fatty acids from the meats clog the arteries, okay? So let's just call gravy what it is, almost pure fat, okay? Let's call the instant mashed potatoes what they actually are, almost pure carbohydrate and fat. Let's call the butter what it is, real fat, pure fat, okay? Let's call the applesauce what it is, dead. There is no nutritional value to the applesauce when it's been pasteurized and heated above and all the enzymes in it are dead, okay? I am laying there in that hospital with a ninth grade education, and I'm looking at this and I'm horrified by what they're feeding us. And the nutritionalist had looked at me and he said, Dave, I just want you to know I've been here for 17 to 19 years, and the goal is for you to get into a walker around the house. And he said he was sorry to be the bearer of bad news. He was just telling me what he'd seen for 17 to 19 years there in the hospital. And in that moment that they were trying to feed me this food, I realized, oh my God, no wonder why he's saying this. That's a 100% dead food diet. Everything in there clogs the arteries. Everybody's in there for a heart attack and or a stroke, right? I'm just sitting here going, really, it's inexcusable. And I know these are not words, nice words, but I'm going to come out and say it. When it comes to nutrition, my experience with the AMA is that they're truly mentally retarded when it comes to the area of nutrition. They don't have a clue. It's what I call the missing link. I am pro Western medicine. I think it's great stuff, man. If I get in a car wreck, I want my bones reset. I want x-rays. I want to see what's going on with me. But the reality is that when it comes to nutrition, they just don't have a clue. And they're feeding people with heart attacks and strokes, turkey, roast beef, instant mashed potatoes, gravy, butter. Come on. Really? I mean, I have a ninth grade education. I'm laying there in this bed and I know that stuff creates clogged arteries. That stuff is what causes heart attacks. I mean, I just cannot tell you what I experienced laying there paralyzed in the hospital, seeing what they were trying to feed me. And I refused to eat that food. And 10 days later, I walked out of that hospital. I only made it to the car. It took 3 people to help me get in the car. I couldn't drive. But I'll tell you what, after 6 months, I'm 100% reversed from the effects of the stroke. 100% reversed. No paralysis on the right side of my body. 93 to 97% paralyzed, refused to eat the cooked food, went raw organic vegan, 100% whole food plant-based diet, drank only dark green leafy vegetable juice and smoothies. Those are the only 2 things that I did. They pumped me full of 11 prescription drugs. In the first 6 months I went raw organic vegan. I got off of 18 of 19 prescription medications and 6 over-the-counter medications. I have a heart attack and stroke, I'm back on 11. I did everything the hospital wanted except eat their food, and I went 100% raw organic vegan and stuck with juices and smoothies and reversed the heart attack and the stroke. This to me is the most common sense, basic thing. I mean, I keep looking at this time and time again. I'm sorry, I get excited about it. I can't help it. I apologize about that.
No.
Really, honestly and truly, man. I mean, when you're told you're gonna die, or you're told, like I was, paralyzed for the rest of your life, and you're laying there paralyzed, if I didn't know what I knew, I would still be paralyzed. I believe to the core of who I am as a human being that had I eaten that cooked food, I would be paralyzed right now. Because the healing process never would have started. Because I flooded my body with phytonutrients, antioxidants, beta-carotenes, elements, trace elements, nutrients, the vitamin, the full vitamin spectrum, the full mineral spectrum, from photosynthesis, from a plant-based whole foods system that grows from the earth. I took no animal products whatsoever. I ate nothing that was cooked. So all the enzymes were in the food. It was living food. I took the fiber out, which meant what? I could drink 10 times the amount through the juice that I could drink in the smoothies, and I could drink 20 times the amount that I could if I just ate the whole plant food just by itself. When you do that and you juice, the juice hits your bloodstream within 20 to 30 minutes. Boom, it just goes right through. And you're giving your organs and your intestines a break. All the stuff that has to process the fiber, your liver, your kidney, your spleen, everything gets a break while you're doing this from the fiber. And you can just drink as much juice as you want, and that's what I did. And I reversed the stroke symptoms. My heart right now is beating at 80, somewhere between 87 and 89% capacity. When I left the hospital, it was at 61 to 63% capacity. That was just 2 years ago. I know I'm on the right track to getting better. I remember when at 11 months on this diet, my kidneys were leaking proteins in my bloodstream, and I was on 4 or 5 prescription medications for it. One of them was lisinopril, which the kidney specialist told me had a side effect, and it coated the kidney with this gooey stuff to help the proteins to stop leaking into the blood system. After 6 months, I'm off of 18 of 19 prescription medications, including all of them for my kidneys. At 11 months, they called me back 3 times saying there's a mistake with the blood test, and I go back in on the 4th blood test. I'm like, what's going on? They're like, well, we don't know. We can't find any proteins leaking into your blood system. It's irreversible according to Western medicine, so they were stymied by it. I'm like, well, there's this doctor, Gabriel Cousins, MD, and he talks about cellular regeneration. You could have heard a pin drop, right? But let me ask you guys something. Seriously, I'm on all these medications for the kidneys. AMA says it's irreversible. Once your kidneys start leaking protein into your blood system, you are going to end up on a kidney dialysis machine. There's no hope. Why, after 11 months, getting off all the prescription medications, getting all the animal products out of my blood system, going 100% organic, getting all the pesticides out of my system, why did the proteins stop leaking into my blood system? I would submit to you that cellular regeneration actually happens. And really, if it's irreversible and I'm on 4 or 5 prescription medications, including one to coat the kidneys with some goopy stuff, then when I'm off the prescription medications, why is it getting better? If it's irreversible, the prescription medication should be helping, not hindering, right? I get off the prescription medication within 11 months. I just went back to a doctor in January. It's April now, correct? Mid-April or something?
Yep.
Bottom line is that in January, I went back to my doctor, had my blood test. This is 6 years later. I still have no proteins leaking into my blood system. 5 years later.
Wow.
If cellular regeneration does not happen in the human body, then how do you explain me 5 years later no longer having kidney problems with them leaking the proteins into the blood system? I mean, that's the beginning of kidney failure. I don't know, I just look at this and I go, okay, I have a 9th grade education, not a doctor, but you know what? It works, and this makes sense, and I'm living it. I've now coached over 200 people. The diseases that I've seen reversed, controlled, whatever you want to call it, it's all semantics to me. The bottom line is, one of two things happen to you when you get disease. Either disease is going to kill you, or you're going to kill the disease. Either you're going to bring the disease under control, or the disease is going to control you and eventually kill you. I don't care what disease it is. Disease is going to take you out. I'm not trying to scare you, I'm just saying what is a fact. Disease in the human body, there's going to be one or two winners. It's going to be you or the disease.
Yeah, I always like to say, live food, live body. Dead food, dead body.
Yes, you got it in a nutshell. That says it all.
Yep, it does.
That really truly does.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And now, during this first 90 days, you were still trucking, right?
Oh, I was trucking during all of it.
During all of it.
Yeah.
So when you were on the road, wasn't it difficult to make smoothies and juices, and how did you handle
Sure.
that?
When I stopped playing around at 90 days because I found out I had cancer. That took me 6 months to reverse through green juice. What I did was I started out with an extension cord and 100 foot of extension cord and a juicer. And then one day I came to a place that had 120 feet to get the extension cord from the plug-in at the rest area to the picnic table. And so I ended up in all this with 400 feet of extension cord. One day I burned up my juicer because I just had a cheap juicer. I didn't know what I was doing. I was burning them up about every 8 weeks because I was making 3 gallons every 3 days of juice. I was drinking a gallon of juice every day. Dark green leafy vegetable juice and a low glycemic mix. And I ended up with 2 juicers in my big rig, 400 foot of extension cord, a juicer in the trunk of my car, a juicer at my girlfriend's house, and a juicer at my dad's house. I made a decision I would never, ever, ever be anywhere without my juice because excuses are useless. I want to live. Once that 90-day period came into play and this thing called hope entered my mind and my heart, then I was like, whoa, I got a shot at this. I'm taking it. And I did. I'm alive today, 6.5 years later. And if I die tomorrow, it's not from the juicing. I still have a serious heart condition. I'm getting better, but I still got it. Guess what? I got 6.5 years of life extension out of this. I'll take it. If I die 30 years from now, it's 36.5 years of life extension. Who knows how long it'll be or how short it'll be. But the bottom line is, I got this much life extension out of it. You can too. Anybody can. I put this challenge out to you.